Has Nikita Scherbak played his last game with the Habs, and what's gotten into Max Domi? That and more in this week's Hockey Inside Out. I'm Adam Susser. I think you know people on the panel at this point. I do this every week. I've been doing it for 3 years. We got Jessica with CBC Daybreak's Jessica Resnack, Mr. Stu Cowan, and Mr. Chris Nyland. Let's start the show. I had a dinner date last Thursday night that I scheduled before one of my friends offered me a ticket to go see the Canadiens play Washington at the Bell Center. The date was okay, but after watching the abridged version of the game when I got home, I realized I'd made a terrible mistake. Not only did I end up missing the most exciting game the Habs had played in years, but I also missed out on witnessing a potentially historic night with Kotkaniemi scoring his first and second NHL goals in spectacular fashion. So Samantha, if you're watching this, please stop texting me. What were your thoughts on last Thursday's 6-4 win over the Washington Capitals?
It was one of the most exciting games I can remember in a long time with the Montreal Canadiens, and it showed what this team has displayed so far this year in that they don't give up. They fight back. I mean, we saw it again against the Islanders when you thought they could have rolled over and died. They fight back. They have a desire, and it was an exciting game. And for Kotkaniemi to score his first 2 goals, I think it is a night that Canadiens fans will remember for a long time.
And I think what was great about his 2 goals were they were important ones too, to open the game and to tie the game as well. So they were that much more meaningful. I think this game is important and kind of a nice little glimpse to the new players on the Habs who have never experienced the Bell Center during the playoffs, because it had the the kind of atmosphere and the sound of the playoffs, just how loud the building got, that so many players just couldn't believe the excitement in the building. So, if that game could help propel them further to want to have an experience like that in a meaningful game in the postseason, I think that's great.
Yeah, it's an awesome win for this team, no question. Look at the wins against Pittsburgh earlier in the season, the beginning of the season. They beat some pretty good teams here, and certainly Washington, being the Stanley Cup champ from last year, still have a solid team. They're strong up the middle, and it was good to see this team win that game. It's definitely a confidence builder for them. And Kotkaniemi scoring 2. It was good to see him finally get that monkey off your back, if you will.
Well, you were mentioning about the sound. I mean, Max Domi was saying he's never heard a building like that. Thomas Tatar also saying how much he's just enjoying playing in the Montreal atmosphere, and the vibe is, as they say, this is the best place to play when you're winning and the worst place to play when you're losing. They've been winning, and it's been a fun place so far.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have more of that this year, if possibly the Habs make the playoffs. After Tuesday night's 5-3 loss to the Rangers in New York, Carey Price has a 5-4-2 record with a 2.81 goals against average and a .90 save percentage. Should Marc Bergevin be concerned about his $84 million goalie?
Yeah, listen, he signed him to it. You're always concerned about your players, and especially one who, in a season where you're trying to change things, and you are, and a bounce-back season for this goaltender, I think they maybe expect a little more from him. Listen, he's way better than he was last year, but I still haven't seen that steady goaltender that we saw a few years ago when he had that incredible season. So, who knows? Here's the deal. This team, they went from a team that was very defensive-minded to a team now that is pressing. So there's going to be a whole lot more opportunities for other teams to score. They're going to give up a lot of opportunities to score, and that's when you need a guy like Carey Price to come up big. And last night wasn't the case.
They need him to steal games, and he hasn't been. I mean, he's had 1 shutout in the last year. Since the shutout win this year against Boston, I think his save percentage is well below 900. But you mentioned the steady goalie. I don't think we're going to see that steady goalie again. I've mentioned that before in this show. This is 2 years in a row leading up to this. He's had parts of the season where he was terrible. One cost Michel Therrien his job. And I just think Carey Price now, I don't think he'll ever be that goalie he was when he won the Hart and Vezina Trophy. I think he's going to have good nights and he's going to have bad nights. And that's what he's done so far this season. And I expect that to continue. And that's not a good sign when you have a goalie making $10.5 million a year. I don't know if he can go on that extended run that he has in the past where he carries the team on his back. I just don't think he can do it anymore.
Well, that's the worrisome part of it, is that he's making $10.5 million a year. He's the highest paid goaltender in the NHL. And if you're not playing like the highest paid goaltender in the NHL, it puts your team in a tough situation, and you are getting paid that big money, and then because you have to steal a few games, and that's what you said, that he hasn't been able to do that. And I think that's some sign for concern, is that Carey Price is just not living up to what they're hoping that he would be able to do, and it's only going to go, down from here. He's going to be 32 in August.
Well, the game against Tampa, Vasilevsky stole that game.
Yeah, I can't reiterate enough the fact that this team was so defensive minded before. They trapped. They really helped that goaltender too. Mm-hmm. This team is different that way. They're going to give up a lot of opportunities. We saw it last night. Guys on the offensive side of the puck not being cautious in certain situations. Good teams win games like last night. I'm not saying they're not a good team. They're a good team. They're inexperienced. They're immature in ways where they're not going to win those games yet. They will win some, but when you give up the opportunities like they did last night in a situation where they certainly should have won the game. Special teams killed them, 4-minute power play, all that stuff. But again, back to Price, he has a different team in front of him.
Yeah, well, you talk about the defensive system. The defensemen, you see them pinching, like going forward at the opposition's blue line, the breakup plays, going forward at the red line, the breakup plays. Last year, they were always backing up all the time.
It's one thing if you have coverage. Mm-hmm. If you don't have the coverage, you're in trouble.
That's why I think he's going to see more 2-on-1s or 3-on-2s than he maybe had in previous seasons.
15 games into the season, Max Domi already has 9 goals. He matched his last 2 seasons in goal output. What's gotten into Domi?
Listen, he's a talented kid. He was in Arizona there. He had 9 goals. Everybody's, why'd they trade for this guy? Bergevin said it. There's a lot of intangibles there. The kid's a leader. He thrives on the big stage. He's embraced this city. He's embraced the hockey club. And he wants to do well. When you play out in the desert there, it's a whole different atmosphere. I remember when we used to go out to LA, I'm like, how the hell do you play out here? I didn't get it. It's, playing in hockey markets all the time. Montreal, New York, Boston, original 6 teams. I just didn't get it. And I'm not saying guys can't do well out there, but it's a whole different atmosphere here, and he thrives on that. He's a talented kid.
And I think the way he's a really good team player after the game against the Islanders, I think he was asked 4 or 5 times by reporters, what's going on with you this season? Why are you doing so well? And he just kept saying, it's a team game. The team's doing well, and really refused to comment on his individual success. And I think players around the room really enjoyed that part of him too, that he could come in there, kind of this entitled kid, grew up, Ty Domi's
instead of someone saying me,
yes.
Me.
Exactly.
We
might have had one of those.
Yeah. Me.
And it just makes the environment better, and guys respect him, and it just makes everything that much better.
Yeah, he's thriving in this environment. It's hard to believe, how did he only score 9 goals in Arizona when you watch him? And 4 of those goals were empty netters. I mean, one of the things is he didn't shoot the puck enough. I mean, we saw that when he first came here. Now he's starting to shoot the puck. He's got that move where he cuts to the middle and he fires, and he scored at least 2 or 3 goals that way. I think he's thriving on the environment. And you were talking about LA. I remember talking with Torrey Mitchell when he was at the Canadiens about what it was like playing in San Jose. And a kid who grew up in Montreal, played at University of Vermont. He said it was just weird going to practice in flip-flops and shorts in February. It takes a while to get used to. And I think for Domi, not only not being in a hockey weather climate, but also playing in front of 5,000 or 6,000 fans. He's a kid who thrives on the spotlight, and there's no bigger spotlight than here. And so many players have wilted under the spotlight here, and here's a guy who's flourishing under it, and it's fun to see. And I think Thomas Tatar is a bit the same way.
I always find it refreshing when the Canadiens get a player who actually gets better and thrives under pressure, because I feel like most players sort of shrink a little bit with the pressure. Would you say that that's the case?
Yeah, but the ending for guys who love the spotlight here hasn't been good. You think of PK Subban, you think of Patrick Roy, you think of and to play well, like all the great players that have played in Montreal love the spotlight, and this kid loves the spotlight. So you just hope that maybe he has a better ending than some of the other guys who love the spotlight here.
That's true. Nikita Scherbak was sent to Laval last week on a conditioning stint. Do you think he's played his last game for the Canadiens?
I think Nikita Scherbak might be closer to the KHL than the NHL, even though he's right up the street. I don't know. It's hard to say what they're thinking with this kid. I get it, why he's down there. I don't know if the coach down there can get this kid to play the type of game that you have to play in the NHL to be a successful player.
Well, you think he would have gone to Laval and literally he's done nothing. I mean, it's 3 games. I don't think he has a point. He's -2. He's already sort of in Coach Joel Bouchard's doghouse. It's it's not going to end well for him here. I mean, obviously the fact that they didn't play him at all here makes me think that they're trying to trade him and hope somebody will take him, and I think that's still the case. Has he played his last game here? Maybe they'll bring him up to try and showcase him. I don't know if that's the right word, but I don't see him having a future. You might be right. You might be right. The KHL could be in his future.
Well, it is disappointing that when a player is sent down, like you said, like really show yourself. This is your opportunity to tell the Montreal Canadiens, you know what, you're making a mistake by keeping me, up in the press box. I came down here, I lit up the AHL. Now bring me back up and I'll, do well at the NHL level. But he just doesn't seem to have that kind of urgency or gets the message that you really have to play very well here. And if you want to show that you're NHL ready, you have to stand out in the AHL, and he hasn't been doing that.
He seems to be like the feeling sorry for himself mode right now. Here's a kid, the game's come easy to him all along. And he just hasn't learned how to be a pro hockey player. And I think the Canadiens' patience has run out with him, similar to how it ran out with Alex Galchenyuk.
Yeah, he takes the long way around. The long way. He does the big swoops, turns his back a lot to the puck, doesn't stop and go, reaches a lot. And I see that. I think the management sees it. I think his teammates see it. I think the coaches see it. And it's tough to correct that. That's the way he plays that game. He's not a stop-and-go player, give-and-go player. Listen, he got some offensive tools. I don't know who. I was reading an article on the Russian sniper got sent to Laval. I'm like, was he in the army before he got here? Like, Russian sniper? Russian sniper? How can you even write that?
He might have had the worst shift I remember from the preseason. He had one shift where the puck came around his wing 3 times on the same shift. Easy chip out, easy get the puck out. He didn't get it out all 3 times. I think that shift alone might have sealed his fate as far as they're saying, we can't put this guy on the ice.
Were you surprised to see Claude Julien use Jesperi Kotkaniemi in the shootout versus the Islanders on Monday night?
I wasn't surprised. I think Jesperi was surprised. And he went in there and, he didn't have a good result, that's for sure, he was probably was a bit surprised, but you know what? Listen, you have to put the kid in those situations. You have to start to give him a little bit more here and there. I get protecting him, and it's a good thing this coach is doing. He had Joe Thornton his first year. Pat Burns had him, sorry. It reminds me of when Pat Burns had Joe Thornton. He protected him, gave him a little here and there, and as the season went on, he gave him a little more, and I think this is a good thing for him.
It was good to see him out there. I know they also had him out for the last minute of a tie game, and he had him taking some defensive zone faceoffs. And I felt bad for the kid because the ice is so bad in that rink. And he went in to try and make a deke, and the puck wobbled on him, and he seemed to lose.
When the ice is bad, shoot. They all deke.
They should shoot all the time. The one guy, I don't get it. I don't understand. The weakest shot you have is your backhand, and how many guys on the shootout get to the slot, pick a corner, and shoot the damn puck, which is how they won the game. But no, I think you're right though. I think he was maybe a little surprised that they Claude picked him.
I thought he was probably going to score just because of how he's always been naive, but in a good way, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, that he doesn't realize the kind of pressure that's on him. But that he came out and he didn't really do what he was hoping to do from it. But giving little, experiences like this to him will help him in the long run. When you protect them too much, eventually there's going to be a point where you have to let them go, but they haven't had that kind of experience before to learn from. So little glimpses like this in his first year, it's great.
The kid can play in the NHL. That's what it comes down to. He's not looked out of place at all. And how far he's come since that rookie camp in Laval when he looked totally lost is really amazing. But the kid's fun to watch. He had that little grin when he got on the ice for the shootout too. And imagine the smile if he had scored. But no, it's good to see Claude Julien give this kid a chance to show. Like, throw him in the water, see if he can swim. And so far he's done it.
He just seems like he's really enjoying himself for this entire time. And that's kind of what you want to see from a player, that they're living in the moment and taking advantage of the opportunities they have and not being afraid of what they're given at the time.
Okay, well, that is our show for this week. We want to thank you all for tuning in. Are you worried about Carey Price and his $84 million contract, or is everything going to be okay? Let us know in the comments section. I'm Adam Sesser, and I'll see you back here next Thursday.